for which processes are responsible for performing a checkpoint? That is my next question. Obviously the answer is these three. PMON and SMON, those processes are not involved in the checkpointing process. PMON is for process recovery, we have seen, and for the listener dynamic registration. SMON is for the recovery process when the instance crashed. So we'll talk about that in much more detail later. The next question that I have, what is the meaning of OFA? What is the meaning of optimal flexible architecture? It is just a guideline. Optimal flexible architecture, it is just a guideline on how to install the Oracle database, what are the directories, what is the where the software should be installed. All that stuff is a guideline for optimal flexible architecture. Based on that, where is the Oracle base? U01 APP Oracle. U01 APP Oracle. This is where the the Oracle base product is. ORA bases. And underneath that we have the subdirectories for inventory and product and all that stuff. So that is what OFA is. So based on the, my next question is, based on the OFA, where should be the Oracle 10G software installed? So that means, what is the, another question, based on OFA, where should be the Oracle 10G software be installed? And that is Oracle Home. And what is the value of that? It is U01 APP Oracle. Then what? Product, right? Then 10 point, let us say 2. Why 2? Why not 1? Because we probably are hopefully installing release 2. If we are installing release 1, it will be 10.1.0. And then underneath that DB_1. In older versions, this DB_1 was not there. If you were installing Oracle 9i, then you would just say product 9.2.0, and then underneath that you would have all the directories. But now they have recommended that there should be DB_1, because if you want to install another patch is basically certain additional programs which will fix the bug of Oracle 10.2 software, then you can create a directory called as DB_2, and you can install a patch over there. So you will have Oracle 10G release 2 patch, or Oracle 10G release 2 without the patch, and then you can test just by changing the Oracle Home there. So that's why they have recommended DB_1 there. So optimal flexible architecture. Now the next question is, how do you find out the size of your database? How do you find out the size of your database? First, what is the size of the database? Database is all this stuff. So sizes of all the data files, maybe sizes of control files, they are actually very small. And the sizes of redo, technically we can say yes, that is together called as the size of the database. Many people say that don't even worry about these because this is not really data. Because redo is not data, redo is only used for recovery. Control file is actually not also data. That is not used for recovery, that is used for the functioning of the database instance. So many people will say it's the size of the all data files clubbed together. Either way, how do you find it out? Go to $, data file. Data files. $, data file will give you sizes of each of the data files, and you need to add that up. $, database will not tell you the size of the database.
It will tell you the information of database, right?
Information about what is the unique ID for the database, called as the UID. There is a unique ID for each database. We will require that during the RMAN recovery probably. Then what is the name of the database, when the database was created, whether the database is in the archive log mode or not, which we have not seen so far. But all that information regarding the database is there in the $, database. But the sizes are in the $, data file, and you do a sum of that, and that will be the size of your database. If you want to be more accurate, then yeah, add the sizes of redo files as well as the control files, but it won't be too much. Now I have a simple true and false question. It says, tell me if this statement is true or false. If one of the control files is missing, if one of the control files is missing, we can mount the database, but we cannot open the database. It is correct. So how do we start? We start from the shutdown, the total. Then we go to which state? No mount. In the no mount phase, what file is required? P file or SP file. So if the P file or SP file is properly present, if that is readable, then the database will go in the no mount phase. Then after that, it requires all control files. So this is, if one of the files is missing, then also database will not be able to go to the mount phase. That is something that we need to understand. All control files are required here. And when I say all control files, how do I decide all control files? The names of the control files are written inside the P file. So if the P files initialization parameter control underscore files contains the names of these two, then I will require two files. Oracle will require those two files to go to the mount phase. And if one of them is missing, it will not go to the mount. So what is my question? If one of the control files is missing, then we can mount the database, but we cannot open it. Is this true or false? True. It is false. It is false. Why it is false? Because one of the control files is missing, we cannot even go to the mount phase. We are still going to be in the no mount phase. We have to do some kind of activity to bring that second control file if one of them is missing. And if you don't have the second control file, usually here is my small trick that I will do. I will again shut the database down. Database shutdown will not happen actually properly here. Therefore, you will have to do a shutdown abort. Why database shutdown will not happen properly? Because if one of the files is missing, Oracle will complain and it will say that I cannot shut down. I cannot shut down.
Shutdown abort or immediate?
Shutdown immediate, shutdown normal, shutdown transactional. All those three things will not work. All those three things will not work. Why? Because when the database is shut down, what happens? A checkpoint happens. A checkpoint is the process of saving everything from memory into the data file. And finally, what is the last thing when the checkpoint happens? That in the header of all those data files, control files, the SCN number is written. And one of the control files is, let us say, missing, the checkpoint will not happen. So the whole process will be kind of aborted. And since the checkpoint cannot happen, Oracle database will not be shut down. Last thing that happens when we type the shutdown command is the checkpoint. And now since one of the files is missing, checkpoint will not happen, so database will not shut down. So in that situation, we have to type the command shutdown abort. Shut abort. When we do shut abort, checkpoint will not happen, database will be shut down. It is like forceful, bad kind of shutdown. Something you should not do unless and until these kind of situations happen. So in that situation, you will do a shutdown abort. And then what is the trick that I do? Control files are exact same copies of each other. If C1 is present, using the CP command, copy it to C2 and then again start up the database, things will be working all right. Things will absolutely work all right. And then there is another trick that I can do is, I don't want to even copy this thing. I can go to my init.ora file, I can go to my P file or SP file, whichever way I want to do it, and I can remove the name of the control file from the control files parameter. So I have taken out this name, so when the database is going to be now in this step, it is telling, the P file is telling or the SP file is telling that you require only one control file, and that one control file is present, and we will be able to go all the way from no mount to open. So either of these two tricks will work, but point to remember here, what was my question? If the one of the control files is missing, then my thing was that I will be able to mount the database. I'm talking about startup process. So during the startup process, I will be able to mount the database. I cannot open it. This is false. I cannot even mount it. So that is the next thing. Then the next question is very simple. Mention 4 table spaces in Oracle 10G database, which are system, sysocs, undo and temp. I think we know all the functionality of those. Again, similar questions that we have already gone through. The next question is, what is inside the library cache? And those are the execution plans that are generated by the optimizer. Okay, that is one of the major informations there. Optimizer. There are many other sub areas inside library cache, but I don't want to go into the details of all that stuff right now. Just remember, it is the execution plans which are very important. execution plans for SQL statements, something about PLSQL, all those things are there. Then what is inside the dictionary cache? We know those are the data dictionary blocks. Then the not last question, I have 2-3 more questions. Where are the user passwords stored? Passwords of each user that we assign using the create DBA underscore users. That is where they are encrypted, obviously. So you cannot find it out, and therefore you can change, a DBA can change the password of a user, but he doesn't need to know the password of that user, and he can never ever know the password of that user because all passwords are encrypted. So the answer is, where are the password stored? DBA underscore users. Then if you want to connect to the database named FDB26, so the question is, if you want to connect to a database named FDB26 using SQL Plus, what steps should you do?
Export SID. FDB26.
Export Oracle SID is equal to FDB underscore 26, and then SQL Plus user ID password. So this is one way of doing it. Okay, so first export SID is equal to that value, what FDB26, and then you are going to type the command SQL Plus user ID and the password. So this is one way of doing it, and this is done only if you have access to the machine on which the database is running, that you have already done an SSH to log into that machine, and then you can do this. So even a step before this, step number 0 is to log in to the machine. Log into the machine on which the database is running, then only this will work. If you do not have the login ID password of the machine of the operating system on which the database is running, then you cannot take this step. And now therefore my next question is, if you don't have this login ID password, then how do you log into a database whose name is FDB26?
What are the
No. We did this yesterday. How do you log on to a database FDB26 if you don't know how to log on to the machine on which the database is running?
I know the machine, but not the user ID.
You don't.
connection string.
Yes, that is what the. So my question. Let me repeat the question. I think. See, you have a machine on which the database FDB26 is running. You know the login ID and the password of that database, but you do not know the login ID and the password of the operating system user. How do you log in then? So if you know the login ID, password and all that stuff, then yes, log into the operating system and then do this thing. So you need to know the login ID and password of the operating system here, and here you need to know the login ID and the password of the database. So this is only if you know this part. And now my next question is, if you don't know the login ID and the password of the machine, then how do you log into a database directly from a different machine now? Connection string. So here is that small diagram. So let us say this is a machine, this one part is a machine where a database is running. The name of the database is FDB26, and I am on a different machine, and I need to log on directly to this database. I will actually, step number 1 is install the client software, Oracle client. Install the Oracle client software on this machine, on the client machine. Then step number 2, configure the Oracle client, which means what? It means configure the file tns names.ora. And what information goes in the tns names.ora file? The IP address of the machine on which the database is running, the port number, the protocol, and the name of the database. 4 things. Let me repeat. The IP address of the machine on which the database is running, the port number on which the listener is running on that machine, it is by default 1521. Then the service name is basically the SID, that means FDB26 in this case, and the protocol, which is TCP. These 4 things are there in the TNS names. So you configure the client, which means you make an entry inside the tnsnames.ora file, and then after that you just type this command, which is this, the user ID / password @ and the connection string, whatever you have created inside the TNS names. This is how it will work. No need to know the password of the host machine. Then the next question is, can you create a table space with a non-standard block size? I think we have gone through this discussion. Can you create a table space with a non-standard block size? Standard block size is db_block_size. And if you want to create a table space without that block size, we have seen this discussion in our earlier step, that create table space blah blah blah, and at the end you will say block size 8K. So answer is yes, you can create a table space with a non-standard block size. One more true and false statement there. Is the following order correct from the smallest to the biggest size? So I will have to write that order there. Smallest to the biggest. Okay, I have written here the smallest is the OS block, operating system block. Then little bigger than that is the DB block, database block. Then I have written here the segment. Then I have written here the extent. Then I have written here data file. And since I cannot write below this, I will write it. Then after that, it is a table space. So is this a correct sequence? The smallest, then the little bigger, then the little bigger, then the little bigger. Is this correct?
No.
This is not correct. Extent. So this is swapped. So OS block, DB block, then the extent, then the segment, then the data file, then the table space, size-wise.
Data file is a collection of all these 4 table spaces, right?
No. One
And
table.
sysocs and-
No. One table space is going to have multiple data files.
Okay.
One table space is going to have. So for example, sysocs table space may be of 1 gigabyte, but it may be consisting of 2 different data files, 500 each. So table space is made up of multiple data files. What is the size of a database? It is sizes of all the table spaces together, which means sizes of all the data files put together. That is what the size of a database is. And the biggest one now I can say, it's not really a database. Database has multiple table spaces. One table space has multiple data files, and likewise. So that is what the smaller to bigger. Now only 2 questions are left. What are the 3 roles that are provided by Oracle when you install the Oracle software? Tell me at least 3 roles that are created by Oracle.
Connect resource.
Connect, resource,
DB.
okay, and DBA. And I will also mention, I think I had mentioned it earlier, select catalog _role. This role is also something that we may want to memorize. It's a nice role to give to all the developers, so that all those developers can go and select from the DBA data dictionary views. They can learn more things and they can do all those things. Select catalog role. So there are quite a few of them. Where do you go and see the list of all the roles, by the way?
Roles.
Where do you see list of all DBA _roles? That will show you list of all the roles. Okay. And the last question is, what is the meaning of the clause with grant option? What is the meaning?
He can grant to some other user.
So he can grant it to some other user. Okay, so I say select, can I say this? Grant, let us say, create session to a user U1 with grant option. Can I say that?
Yes.
Create session. No, it cannot be granted.
No, this cannot be done. Your first answer was correct. With the grant option means you grant a privilege to somebody with a grant option and he will be able to grant that privilege to somebody else. That is correct. But this is only for the object privileges, not for the system privileges. And create session is a system privilege. So this is not correct. So what is required here? Instead of grant option, admin option. Admin option. So that is the difference between the grant option and the admin option. So these were like the 25 questions that I had created. Hopefully that gave us the revision of some of the things that we have done earlier.